Fucking boo.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Fucking Boo Bombing Stories with Big Irish J. And hello to all the bombardiers, the Boo crew. Fucking Boo. Anyways, I got a good buddy on with me today. He's a comic out in LA. He also is a producer. And should I say you're like the sheriff of the podcast, or what would I say?
I guess that works,
Yeah.
right? That's how everybody knew me, is like, oh, that dude that does the podcast for people. So
yeah, but
whatever,
you're
it
a
works.
comic too. You're not just the dude that does yeah. Paul Antonio, my good buddy Paul Antonio. What's up, Paul?
What's up, Big J? It's dope to see you. It's dope to be on the pod. I know we've been planning this for a while, so
Yes.
I'm excited to be here, man. This
Now,
is great.
where are you? Where are you? It looks like you're in a fucking sex trafficking warehouse right now.
Valid. Yeah, this is my man cave, but I'm showing you the non-done up part of the man cave right now.
Got you.
But if I turned you to my beautiful view, I have a little bit more significant stuff going on. But then if you get the regular view,
I see. Okay, you're in the garage. Okay.
Yeah, that's the only
Gotcha.
part of the house that my girlfriend lets me have. So
Hey,
Yeah.
trust me. I just got a house in August, and my girl, and I get it. I fucking get it.
just meet the spiders in here, so it works.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me your bombing story.
All right. So during the pandemic, I don't know. I never gauged you on this. How big were you on doing virtual shows? Was that
I
something
did
that you
two. I did one with Steve Hofstetter, which was pretty cool. I mean, it was probably as best as one of those shows could be. And then I did a show where I co-headlined, where I had to do 45 minutes.
Oh shit.
And when I was done with that, I was done. I was like, I never want to do one of these again.
Well, my experience, see, I was the biggest hater initially on virtual shows because I'm like a comedy purist. So I was like, what is this? You need a stage, you need a dynamic. And then I got booked to do a gig. This isn't the bombing story, but I got booked to do a gig for the Hollenbeck Police Activities League.
Okay.
And this was before the protests. So this was before they were the enemies. I didn't know better at that time. They sent me a bunch of swag. I couldn't wear any of it. It all had sheriff badges and stuff like that. So I had to throw it away. But I did this gig for them. They wanted me to host Cinco de Mayo, like their virtual event. And everybody was on mute. And the only reason I did it was because, they didn't even pay money. They just gave me a swag bag, and I'll do anything for a swag bag,
Oh,
so
Paul.
I did this. My prices are low, even still. So I did this gig, right, and everybody's muted, but I just see people kind of bobbing their heads and stuff, and I was like, all right, this is probably the worst it's ever gonna be. So let's just go for it. So after that, I linked up with Sammy Obeid, who was running at the time KO Comedy. And this became a huge virtual comedy club. I mean, it's still running to this day, which is bizarre to me. But I guess there's still people who would rather watch comedy on an iPad than, go out and experience it. But it was huge. We had, this is the name drop portion. We had people like Judah Friedlander and Joe List and comics like that. So it was popping, man. I mean, there were times where we had like 1,000 people in the audience for a virtual show. Yeah, it was bizarre. And the tips were good. And I was in my boxers the whole time. Like I didn't need to get ready. I would literally just log on for an hour and be inundated with tips and, all this type of stuff.
Wait. You said you were a comedy purist, but yet you were doing stand-up in shorts. Oh, Paul.
Yeah. You know what? I'm telling you, it really changed me from that. I went from being that guy of like jeans and don't expose your ankles on stage to like, bro, I could just roll out of. There were times where I would sleep 22 hours in a day and just roll over for the show. So it was exciting. It was income, it was dope.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, so they asked me to start my own show, which was sweet. So I had my own show rolling for a while, and the thing about virtual comedy was it was really the same audience members every single time. So you really got to develop relationships with these people. And at the time, I thought that everybody was like an actual audience member. And I didn't learn until after the pandemic that it was all people that wanted to do comedy or wanted to try comedy, but nothing was open for them to try. So they were like, let me be an audience member. And then once everything opened up, I guess we just made it look too easy for them, where they were like, I can do that. With these
right.
I can do that. But when you run your own virtual show, as you do when you run your own live show, you run into like completely insane people. There was one time where I had to cancel the show because my grandfather passed, right? It was very sad. And I canceled the show kind of last minute because, we're dealing with family loss. And I got messages from one particular person who was like, you ruined my Saturday. I look forward to this show every week. I can't believe you did this. And I sent the message like, I'm sorry, but family, this is what happened. I'm sorry, whatever. And they blocked me. So that was insane reaction.
Fuck them.
Like, yeah. And that's all leading into the bomb.
So. Right. No, but dude, I've had that where, it's you have no control over it. And, I thought you were going to say, you apologized and told them what was going on. And then that person was like, oh, I understand. But they went the other. They're like, I don't care. I don't care if you have a loved one that dies. I want my fucking Zoom comedy.
Yeah. They went into
Fuck that guy.
This is my day. And you took this away from me. I want to bury you with your grandfather. Like, that's pretty much what the conversation went into, so it was, we run into horrible audience members all the time. It's different in that regard because I always tell people, I'm like, a lot of comics treat their people as like fans, but given the situation of like what we were seeing each other every Saturday, it's like they had a relationship with me and I had a relationship with them, so it's a little different of a dynamic. But to explode on somebody for taking something away, it's like the entitlement of audiences.
Exactly.
We see. So in particular, there's one audience member who I'm not even gonna bring up a name. We're just gonna refer to him as audience member. This man is homeless, but he has a cell phone, which I guess was our demographic. We were trying to get, I don't even know how he found out about the virtual shows, but he had some mental problems, right? And he's a good dude, but
if this guy's an asshole, don't fucking defend him, Paul.
He's a guy, he just has some mental stuff going on,
Okay.
He definitely has like bipolar, where he'll be like vibing with the show, and then something will set him off. So on this particular night, I had I think the comic was Shang Forbes headlining my show. And Shang is he's a legend, dude. Shang didn't just do Def Jam comedy back in the day. He did Def Poetry Jam, which was the show before that. Like, this dude goes, way back. So one of the benefits of doing a virtual show is you're able to work with comedians that, sometimes they don't want to drive out to, wherever you're having your show. But in this instance, all they have to do, like we said, is roll out of bed. They could be in their boxers. They could jump on the show, and they get paid. Arguably, they were getting paid more than they were getting paid to do like, local headliner spots and stuff like that. So whatever Shang said, I don't know what he said, but it started with messages in the chat. Okay. It started with, well, this guy's fat as fuck. Like, that's the first thing you go when you're trying to insult somebody, the first thing you go is in appearance or whatever.
Right.
So he starts going off on Shang, and it's because I think so. This man is part of the LGBT community, and I think Shang said something about sleeping with a guy, and that just triggered this guy's a homophobe. This guy's this. So he starts putting crazy messages in the chat, and at this time.
Wait, but don't forget where you're at. But I just want to say for the audience members, so doing those Zoom shows, it's a lot different trying to deal with a heckler versus versus, you know, somebody in the club that says something, because somebody in the club that says something, you can hear it and you can respond real time. Whereas when you're doing those Zoom shows, you're just kind of looking into the camera and maybe you'll see like reactions of people like with their hands or whatever, but you're focused on your stand up. You're not reading the chat. So he probably, because I was going to say Shane like has no problem destroying somebody
Oh
that's
yeah,
heckling, right? But I'm
not
sure
at all.
he wasn't seeing the chat. Is that
No,
right?
not at all. Wasn't seeing the chat.
Right. Okay.
Especially like, so a little bit about like in specific like Zoom comedy is you spotlight one of the cameras. So you're not even really seeing all the audience. You're just seeing a few audience members on your screen. And for sure, if you are just focusing on your set and you have your chat minimized, you won't even be seeing what's going on, right? So there's one added component to virtual comedy, which is the ability to whisper to people,
Right.
which you would never have during a show, right? So I have at this time, while this guy's going crazy in the chat, I have other audience members whispering to me and telling me what's wrong with this guy today. And so it's like this whole weird dynamic of I'm trying to balance communication with random audience members who now have opinions on what's going on, and I'm making sure Shang's doing good and making sure this guy's, you know, I'll let him say whatever he wants in the chat, but you know, once it gets past a certain line, whatever, right?
Right.
So Shang ends his set, and at this point, now that he ends his set, this guy starts unmuting his microphone and talking, and not even really attacking Shang, but just kind of yelling random nonsense, you know, random bus stop nonsense about homophobia and stuff. And now I have to say, the good thing about virtual shows is you're able to mute people. And if you have your settings correct, you can mute people and they can't unmute themselves unless you unmute them. So I wish we did have that ability in comedy clubs, because we wouldn't have to kick people out. We could just shut them up and have them be shut up, you know. So I start doing jokes as you try to do afterwards, and it just continued in the stream. And so finally, mercifully, you know, Shang was our headliner. The show ends. And as the show ends, we always would do a little hangout because literally nobody had anything else to do. So we would we would drink. It would turn into like a virtual happy hour where you're just drinking with random strangers and, you know, seeing what's up. So then I noticed as soon as the show ended, he got off. He got off the stream.
The bipolar dude.
The bipolar dude.
The gay bipolar.
Homeless activist. Yeah, those
there
are all. And he all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up, and it's messages on Instagram. So this person is now sending me messages on Instagram, and these messages are like, "You should be ashamed of
your dick."
Yeah, I wish. That was a tip. I was looking for that tip during the pandemic.
I wish.
That's the one time that people were worried less about STDs and more about COVID. I think we got to get back to that point. It wasn't, are you clean? It's, can you wear a mask? I'll ignore the blisters. But yeah, so my phone is blowing up, and all the messages are like, you should be ashamed of yourself. And, you know, I can't believe you're promoting this. And I send, at this time, you had to get good at like customer service, right? When you had a virtual show, because we had upset people before, you know, and I'd been called every name you're a misogynist, you're sexist, you're homophobic. And then the opposite, where it's like people are calling you gay and people are calling you're like, I can't be everything at once.
Yeah.
You know? So I talked to him and I said, hey, I regret that, you know, you had that response to Shang. I tried to book, you know, comics with credits and comics that are entertaining and people that you would normally have to pay to see. Once again, this is a free show. You know, people send tips, but this is a free show. I mean, even a $5 show would have probably been out of this dude's budget. So maybe in hindsight, we should have charged a ticket price. It would have weeded out some of the, you know, the nonsense. But yeah, so I get all these, and then finally I'm like, you know what? Oh, so I send him, you know, I'm sorry you reacted this way. And he's not having any of it. He is just going off and off, and you're Hitler, you're the devil, you're this. So I decided to do something that I thought was reasonable, but like I said, I was bored at the time. I start using Instagram to FaceTime him. I start
Oh.
calling him, and the calls would consist of him answering, screaming, "No, I don't want to talk to you," and then hanging up. And I did it maybe 10 times in a row. It was kind of entertaining, to just be I don't want to talk to you and then hang up. Like, he didn't ignore the call, he answered every single
Answered
time.
to tell you that he didn't want to talk to you
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that Key and Peele sketch with Megan or whatever. She's like, "I'm over it, no," but like, she doesn't want the attention to stop. So then that's when this turns into the worst bomb of my career, which is this guy starts threatening to kill himself over this comedy show and just saying, "I'm sorry, I snapped. I'm just done. I shouldn't be doing this, blah blah blah." Like, and remember, the root of all this is comedy.
Right.
This,
And it's not even your set.
no, not necessarily, but it was it was my booking. That's what it was. It was me. As I don't know if there's some gray person that's out there that appeals to every race and gender
There's
and
not.
creed. There's not. So, like,
Yeah, and you didn't bomb the booking because Sheng's a great comic.
amazing comic.
This guy just had a problem with what a word or something triggered him, and
With everything,
and
yeah.
you were the face of the show.
Yeah. I told you, people were. It was like a weird relationship with fans where it's like, and don't get me wrong, some of them are still super cool to this day. I'm starting to have them come out to real life shows, which is dope. And
Yeah, yeah, that's what you're telling me about.
I make sure to tell the producers too. Like, I'm like, "Hey, those are my two right there. Those two, I
Right.
them, and I've known them for years, even though I've never met them before. But they know every dark secret of mine, except how much I really weigh, which now they can see in person." So yeah, but the conversation continued, and it was just, "I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna do this." So he didn't. Luckily, I'm pretty sure luckily. I don't know if I wanted that attributed with I didn't want a casual, like, if they had the COVID casualties on like a screen, I didn't want like COVID and then like Paul's show won,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so he didn't, and to this day, he still comments on my stuff, and it's all like hearts and "I miss you" and "I love you" and this kind of stuff. So I know the pandemic was a time for many of us to go soul searching, and we had probably plenty of times where we were breaking down, wondering if this stuff would ever start again. But man, this guy, he's still going through it, and I want to say that my comedy show brought him close, but it didn't quite. It didn't push him over the edge.
So when we post this, he'll see it.
Maybe there's a chance, but I can block him from seeing it. So let's go with that. Or if I want another fun FaceTime roller coaster, then I could just keep it open, and then we could talk about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll ask you what I ask everybody after their bombing story. What would you have done differently in the moment, and what did you learn from it?
So a lot of people probably regret it. I think I would have doubled down. I think I would have seen how close we could get to the edge. Maybe that would have
Until he
been
killed himself?
Yeah, not
Jesus
not all the
Christ.
way, but like maybe like a maiming. Maybe like I don't know. I feel like there's some weird street cred involved with something like that. So maybe that direction, but at the same time, it's like it was a really good lesson in comedy of like, you can play it safe, like you can do everything in your power to appeal to everybody, and no matter what you do, you're going to have these people that just show up and they have wild opinions and wild assumptions of you and who you are as a person and where you came from and stuff. And the best thing to do is just kind of take it as like a badge of honor and be like, well, there's another one that hates me.
Yeah, we can't pull the audience before every show and go, okay, give me your button issues, or the things that are going to trigger you. Okay, let me go to the next person. Let me do that for 300 people. You just be like, So knock knock jokes, guys. Is that what you want? Fucking, it's like
Dude.
some people just should not go to comedy clubs and or comedy shows, and then there's also the people that they literally are just waiting for the one thing that's going to trigger them so that they can be offended and feel important and go, tweet or fucking write whatever on whatever social media thing. Excuse me. And have you booked Shang since then on other stuff?
That was my other lesson. Never book Shang for. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, right.
I have worked with Shang, and the funniest thing was, after I talked to him, he was like, "I didn't think it went that bad." He's like,
Yeah.
"What do you you know?"
I'm sure it didn't. It was just one person that fucking had the energy of 100. So fuck that guy.
Yeah.
So tell everybody. I'm gonna and we talked about this before we started recording, but Paul's gonna come back on later at a later date and tell another bombing story. And where can people follow you? You got shows coming up. This will come out Thursday if you put it up.
Yeah, I know, right? Dropped the ball on the last one.
No.
Although the fans got a special 2 episodes in 3 days, little treat right there.
There you go.
No, so if people want to follow me, follow my stand-up at the Paul Antonio. I have sets on YouTube if you guys want to check me out doing comedy. But also, if you want to follow the comedy production side, which includes the podcast and includes the live shows, follow at Comedy Pop-Up. The guy who ran Comedy Pop-Up, who you met, Nick, who's an amazing guy, he moved to Dubai, so he just pieced out. And
he went to Dubai. Holy shit.
Went to Dubai, met a girl, has a whole life out there. It's amazing. Great story. But he basically said, "Hey, you have my blessing. Whatever you want to do a Comedy Pop-Up, run it." So basically right now I'm the producer and all that stuff behind Comedy Pop-Up. So follow Comedy Pop-Up. We got shows. I'll rattle off some cities. We got shows in Pomona. We got shows in Montebello, Boyle Heights, Lancaster. These are all SoCal shows. And just added San Dimas. If I could add a quick note, we lost somebody in the comedy community just a couple days ago. This dude was literally the nicest human in the world. And speaking about bombing, you can tell on social media who didn't know this guy because they posted, "Rest in peace, Nick Lanny," who we love. This man was one of the funniest comics I knew. If you ever read that person was not close with him, because anybody that was close with him would never describe him as one of the funniest people that they knew. He was one of the nicest people that we knew, but a sweetheart, and he ran this room in San Dimas, California called High Point Brewery. It was a monthly show. And we did a little memorial to him at the last time, and Comedy Pop-Up is one of the partners that's going to take it over and just continue his legacy. So if you guys are in the SoCal area, stop by High Point Brewery. We're going to have a show that is used to kind of raise funds for his funeral and all that stuff. 34 years old, man. So young.
What was his name? Say his name again.
Nick Lanny. You can find
Lanny.
him. You can find him on YouTube. He has one set on YouTube from a show. So basically, this guy was like a big nerd, kind of like he loved like nerdy stuff. He was super religious nerd, right? And he did my show up in Lancaster, California, which is at a Funko Pop /collectible /anime store. So it was an opening spot. So I think I only paid like $40, right? I'm like, hey, I could give you $40. That kind of covers gas. Like, just come up here. He spent $200 on toys at the store. So the set was a net loss for him, but like just seeing him be happy. So that set from that show is on YouTube now. It's Nick Lanny. It's either Lanny or Lanni. He used both spellings, and he has 2 YouTube channels with the different spellings. So just look up Nick Lanny at AV Pop Shop, and you'll see this kid who was so wonderful. And yeah, just check him out.
Well, RIP to Nick, and check that out. And as far as shows I got this weekend, I will be this Friday and Saturday. I'll be in Boston at Laugh Boston for my annual Big Irish J and Friends show. You can go to bigirishj.com for tickets or laughboston.com for tickets. And then the week after that, I will be in Connecticut at the City Steam Brewery, the Brouhaha comedy show. Again, go to bigirishj.com for tickets. And thanks, Paul, for doing this. Appreciate it. And again, we'll have you back for the other bombing story. And until next time, this is my favorite and worst part of this show. Let me just say to everyone out there, bombs away.
Terrible.
Fucking boo.